JIAN-KEN from MakeTech here. In this video we're going to look at the CNC enclosure I've built. This is episode 3 of the CNC build. Alright, let's get into it. In this video we're going to look at how I've designed this CNC machine enclosure and the iterations I've done, and then how I've done a acrylic sheet cut plan for the acrylic supplier. And yes, I'm using acrylic, not polycarbonate. We'll get into that later. To start with, I've made this body blue. I actually did that for the Instagram post that I put up the other day, so that people could quickly see, okay, that's the blue bit in that photo, and then in the video as well, did little video animations, and then I used the robotic camera system to take a video of me doing some welding on the frame, and then the frame finished. So to tie all that together, I used blue here, and then because it's blue steel, and if you don't know about how steel comes, you can get it, it's like got an undercoat on it already, so you have to clean that off when you weld it. What am I going on about why it's blue? Well, I'm gonna just let you know, you can easily put the appearance on there, and I find for the creative process with stuff like this, like I've been going on with this design for weeks now, which normally I would be like, come on man, that's too slow, but this unit is a massive investment. So I'm going to take my time designing it to make it right, and then we'll be winning. So yeah, to help with the designing process, it's being a bit weird. You can change the appearance of objects and faces by just choosing a material in the library. Some of them will be preloaded with Fusion, other ones you'll have to download. So yeah, if you want to make something blue, let's say I'll make that blue now. And there you go, now that's blue. So let's undo that. And then another quick thing that can help you with your designing in Fusion360 is, so if you want something to look translucent or clear, you can go to opacity control, and then you don't even have to change the material, and it just looks clear. Like for example, I make this 100 now, so that's solid. That's a solid object, right? And then so if I, just to help me visualize what's going on here, I can bring it back to 40%, and now you can see inside the enclosure. You can see inside the enclosure there. So it's just a nice little. Then I've got the chip tray here. I want to talk about that. So this is using the loft tool. That's, to be honest, that's probably my favorite tool at the moment. I really love how you can just make 3D objects with basically just using two faces, and they can or don't have to be parallel to each other. It's really useful. So this chip tray on this unit, I've done it at 100mm drop, and then I decided that this face here, the angle on this wasn't enough, so there we go. Bloody arrows covering the 84.6. I need that to really flush these chips that are going to come off here into the chip collection area there. So yeah, that wasn't enough. Other issues with the design here is basically the window and the frame part up here. So I spoke to a couple of suppliers today, and I'll get into that in a moment, but I've changed the design of that, and yeah, so that design is old, that's gone, and I've changed it to this. So the chip tray now is 150mm deep, and that creates a better fold. I might have even, I'm not sure if it's 150 plus a bit more on up here as well. It might be like 175. So let's check that, inspect. So now we've got significantly more angle there. That's, what's that, 8.1, 8.1 degrees. It's always harder to think when you're recording. yeah, so that's significantly better. That'll flush the chips down there much better. There's also a bit more clearance between here and here. Got 40 mil there to make sure I can clean that out, and they're not going to build up and catch on that cross member there. And then yeah, obviously we've got a different enclosure here. So this is like it's all made of angle material, aluminium extrusion angle, which is in stock and available. I've checked today, and it's quite affordable as well. That's 3 mil thick, so that'll be quite strong. I mean, it doesn't even have to really hold, it's just holding the acrylic windows on there and the associated hardware with that, although it would be nice to mount a screen or 2 screens up here to run whatever software I'm going to use for that controller, so I think that will be okay for that as well. Yep, then the windows, so all I've done there is just done a sketch on this face, drawn the windows, extruded them out 3 mil, and then off the face of the window there I've constructed a offset plane 5 mil, and then I've done 2 more windows on that plane, extruded them out 3 mil. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a nice amount. And yeah, if I can't do 5 mil, I need a little bit more room when I build it. I can there's room there to be had, so I can make that a bit more space there. That's fine. Yes. So what I wanted to also talk about is in the design process, you know, it's not quite as simple as just drawing something up in CAD. I mean, sometimes when you're doing 3D printing, what you've really got to worry about is overhangs, and then will it fit onto the whatever you're dealing with in reality, with the tolerances you have to deal with and whatever. But yeah, something like this, you know, we're getting materials, cutting it up, welding it, and yeah, like, well, what materials can we use? So I was lucky enough to talk to someone from Caprol today, Caprol Aluminium. It's my local big supplier. They're really good guys there. I was talking on the phone to one of the guys. He was really, really helpful actually. So I want to say thanks to Caprol for your help with that. They said they had in stock this one here. So this is 125 by 50 right angle and 3 mil thick. So if we look at the diagram up here, so that's A and B is 125 and 50, T is 3, that's thickness, and then the material is 606. And then it's good. This little, they call it the little green book. So that's nominal mass will be 9.05 kilograms per meter. That's really handy, so I can start to work out how much this thing's going to weigh. And yeah, it's I really like this catalog. You know, it's quite handy. And they were nice enough on the phone to talk to me about this one. I could have just looked it up on my own. You know, I was asking about T-slot, which they didn't have, which takes me to the next point. So yeah, they did not have T-slot, which is unfortunate. But yeah, these guys, aluminiumprofile.com.au. I think I was talking to the director there. He was really nice. He gave me so much of his time, and I want to say thanks. You know, yeah, I was looking at using 2020. You know, you've seen this before in factories where they have modular sort of machine cells or robot cells. And you know, yeah, if you haven't seen that sort of thing before, this is what I'm talking about. So it's you just cut it up and bolt it together, and you can get accessories that are just bolt-in accessories. So you just throw it together. You don't need any welding. And then when you've finished with it, or if you want to make any changes, like if I wanted to add a robot to this, or yeah, whatever, I can take bits apart and add things to it, and you can mount things to it easily as well. Like if I need to add actuators to the doors to make them open, I can just bolt them on. But it's not necessarily what you don't need it. Like, you can just weld things. So anyway, he was really helpful as well, and basically we sort of came to the conclusion that to use what they had, it would just be way overkill. You know, I was talking about using some drawer slides from the hardware store to run the windows. Yeah, he was like really, respectful about the fact that it just didn't need to be that hardcore options like what he had, although it would be, you know, would be cool, but it's just sort of like a waste of resources, you know, when I can spend that money elsewhere. Like I could put touch screens on the machine instead of using T-slot. Like that's probably about roughly ballpark how much difference in price it would be to using this right angle aluminium from Caprol. And you know, I can just drive down there tomorrow and pick this up. It's all ready to go. So yeah, so that's Caprol. And then he said he did have a long lead time on the cutting of sheet. Yeah, we'll see, because I need some sheet bits for this bottom lip here. But anyway, going on a bit of a tangent there. So let's talk about the windows, the acrylic. I'm sure there's a better way to do this than what I've done, but I've used the CAD here to use Fusion360 to draw up 2 sheets of acrylic. And okay, yeah, getting back to the point about the acrylic, I've chosen acrylic, which normally you should use polycarbonate, because, well, it depends what your objective is. So if the workpiece, like the material that I'm working on, gets caught by the spindle or something, and it comes loose and goes flying through the room, it'll hit the window, whatever the window is made of. Will it break the window, or will it go through it? You know, well, if it's made of acrylic, the acrylic's going to absorb a lot of the energy, and it might keep going, but hopefully, yeah, it'll just be a case of replacing the window and then we're all good. Whereas polycarbonate is much more likely to catch the projectile, and yeah, I mean, you'll still need to replace it anyway. So the other difference is that acrylic will not scratch so easily, and that's important for this because I've got sliding doors that are going to be probably touching. I'm going to have them very close because I want this to be fairly, not quote unquote airtight, but no air gaps, so that sound doesn't come out. It's not a huge important issue, but I want to try and keep the sound minimal in the machine because I'll be working in there on other things in a fairly modestly sized workshop, so I'll be in close proximity to the machine all the time when I'm out there, and I want to keep that thing running. So yeah, so I've made this like a cut template for the guys at Menzel Plastics in Adelaide, so I think that pretty much covers it.